Hi, I'm Richard Rosso, a certified financial planner and director of financial planning for Clarity Financial and contributor for Real Investment Advice. A TD Ameritrade poll of 1,500 millennials, so those are people who were born between 1981 and 1996, discovered something interesting. Most millennials would like to retire by the age of 56. Pretty ambitious goal, for sure, when we have baby boomers who are working and they're 70. Well, interestingly enough, there's a lot of bad advice out there given to millennials who are looking to retire at 56. You know, it's the standard stuff, pretty traditional. Invest in your 401k, buy a house. All this information is horrible information, okay? It is not going to get the millennial to the goal. So there's going to have to be some unorthodox ways of thinking, a little bit outside the box. Financial industry is not really ready for that. But I've got some real investment tips in part one of my report, How Millennials Can Retire at 56. I'll warn you up front, an early retirement is going to be a lofty goal. But heck, even if you take the steps that I'm giving you today, you're going to be better off than 95% of Americans who are saving for retirement, regardless of the generation they're in. The pay and continuously improve yourself mantra. This is the powerhouse rule. If you walk away now and don't listen to anything else I have to say, I will say I have done my job. So when you pay yourself first is you've got to think of yourself, you as an individual, as an investment. That's very rarely discussed, okay? As adults, we've been counseled to what? Invest in real estate, invest in stocks. But how many times has there been a discussion about investing in you? Census Bureau data shows that the average American with a bachelor's degree earned $2.4 million over their lifetime in 2013. You know, it's hard to argue with these figures. AARP has a study that shows that what I call the average seasoned American, 55 and older, had $255,000 in their retirement accounts during the same year. So having an education is important. Financial investments, you got to think about it. What they do, they're out of your control. Some of it's luck, some of it's probabilities, valuations, but what you can control is looking at the trends of where labor markets are going and try to direct yourself to that space to become more valuable in the workforce. Plenty of dangerous rules of thumb currently exist. At Real Investment Advice, we try to bust those mantras on a daily basis. The one rule of thumb that stands true is to pay yourself first. And I want to give you an example, okay? So I want you to take a deep breath. A millennial born in 1981, say, has $1,000 currently saved for retirement, okay? If I assume a realistic inflation-adjusted rate of return, say 3%, and Miss Millennial or Mr. and Mrs. Millennial make $50,000 a year in income, they pay themselves first by putting away, get this, 30% of their pre-tax income annually for 18 years. Remember what I said, 30% of their gross income every year. Mr. and Mrs. Millennial are going to wind up with a nest egg of $363,000. Not bad, okay? It's not $1 million, but guess what? It's a heck of a good start. Just by you paying yourself first, taking that money off at the top, and forgetting about it. Of course, life gets in the way, things happen, but if you can consistently do that 30% a year, that would be important. Not only that is where you direct the money. Traditional financial advice is going to tell you to place it in a pre-tax 401k. That is a very popular suggestion. I am going to tell you to do it in a Roth 401k. Why a Roth? Well, a Roth is going to give you tax-free income in retirement. And if you think I sound way off on this, a 2017 Harvard Business School study for the Journal of Public Economics agrees with my strategy that you will have if you use the Roth instead of a pre-tax 401k. No, regardless of your tax bracket today, regardless of what your tax bracket's going to be, you are going to have more retirement consumption dollars. 30% in a Roth 401k. So although the $363,000 that I mentioned, it is a lot of money, okay? You would be in the top tier of savings for Americans. Okay, it's a valuable effort. The other thing you have to be aware of is stock market cycles. Okay, the traditional advice is if you're a young person, that you should be as aggressive as possible. You should place as much of your money into stocks as you can stand. Recently, a client of mine in his mid-30s got a letter of congratulations from a very large financial group saying, you know what, you are aggressive and you should go for it. Imagine, at a time when stock valuations are at the second highest level since the tech bubble, they are going to suggest to you to take more risk than the return that you're possibly going to get. Now, unlike money managers, say, like Ken Fisher, who tell you that the longer you hold stocks, the safer they become, even safer than cash, respected journalists, respected academics disagree with Mr. Fisher. And one of them is Z. Brody. He's the Norman and Adele Barron Professor of Management at Boston University, someone who I respect and appears on our radio show from time to time. And he actually proved in his study that the longer you hold stocks, the riskier they get. The total opposite of what Ken Fisher preaches to people. So you've got to respect valuations, look at where markets are, and be more blended in your approach, because stocks are risky, and even though stocks can give you better returns, it all is depending upon the risk and reward. So do not listen to the traditional advice when you invest that money to be aggressive. Let me give you one last example on this. Risk has no age. Risk has no idea how old you are. How would you perceive my advice, Mr. and Mrs. Millennial, if I suggested to you that you go ahead and you get on the road today and you don't wear a seatbelt? However, I'm going to tell your parents or your grandparents, listen, if you get on the road today, please wear your seatbelts. Why? Well, the risk of driving the car is the same for all of you, for the most part. However, if you, Mr. and Mrs. Millennial, get into an accident, perhaps you'll heal better or faster than grandpa or mom. Risk has no idea of how old you are. You should consider that when it comes to the stock market. Another suggestion for millennials is get a side gig or part-time income. According to a recent survey by Bankrate.com, 4 out of 10 Americans work a side job. Think like driving for Uber. Greater than 50% of millennials have side hustles to make extra income. On average, these side gigs give you an extra $686 a month. Unfortunately, a majority of millennials are taking this extra gig not to save, but just to make the day-to-day expenses. If you could take a side gig or part-time income and sock that money away, that would be a good way to accelerate your goal to retire at 56 years old. Take responsibility for your own basic income is another step millennials should take. And let me explain what that is. A basic income is an income you cannot outlive, no matter how old you are. You see, stocks go up and down. They're variable. So to get a permanent lifetime income stream from stocks that go up and down is not reliable. Okay? Social Security, for example, is a basic income. It's a guaranteed income stream for life. Now, what I'm afraid of for millennials is that the retirement age, and also millennials and younger generations, that the retirement age is going to be pushed out for you to age 68. But I do believe Social Security will be there. So you do, even though you're a young person and Social Security is a faraway thought, you do want to meet with a financial planner and advisor who understands Social Security, understands how you can max out what you're going to get, you and a spouse, and the best way to take Social Security to make the most out of it. In addition to Social Security, as you get 10 years closer to retirement, so let's say you think you're going to retire at 56, you're now 46, look at something called a deferred income annuity. I know annuity is a bad word, but annuity means check for life. Think about looking at a deferred income annuity that will act as a pension for you. I know pensions are pretty much gone. I'm sure a lot of millennials who are watching this are going, what is a pension? Well, a pension was something a company would provide to you for your life or you and a spouse. Unfortunately, most of us, including you millennials and younger generations, you're going to need to create your own pension. That's not through stocks. That's through an annuity you purchase from a quality insurance company, a highly rated insurance company that supplements Social Security. Okay? I know, it doesn't sound exciting. It's not supposed to be. This is the part one of the tips I have available for millennials who are going to look to take on the ambitious endeavor of retiring at 56. However, any of these tips would be good for anybody, any generation, to help them make the retirement hurdle. Now, stay tuned for part two of how millennials can retire at 56. I think you'll enjoy it. I'm Richard Rosso, Director of Financial Planning for Clarity Financial and contributor for Real Investment Advice, and I appreciate your time today.